So, Mike, today we're going to talk about subject trust and risk reduction when it comes to
Yes.
web design projects, digital marketing in general.
I made a few notes.
Good. Thank God one of us did. And I'm going to pull from my years of experience and many, many, many hundreds and thousands of sales calls in order to hopefully bring some value to whomever is listening to this. You know my favorite line. The web design space is full of people that are unqualified, etc. And I say it as follows. It's a wild west, right? Complete and utter wild west. Unlicensed, unregulated. Correct?
That's right.
So what does one do? Again, I just today I had a conversation with a very nice person who is seeking proposals or an idea of pricing for her boss. They're an HR company, small team of 3, work remote, happen to be in the same city as us, opted not to come to the office to meet with us, and wanted to hear pricing. We had a great conversation, talked about process, talked about issues, talked about all this stuff. And I just said at the end, I'm like, look, with all due respect, I appreciate you're calling other vendors. Great. You should listen to what's on the market. Has anyone talked to you about their process, about Figma, about anything? No, they haven't. Okay. So I spit out a price, but I said to her, the price is irrelevant. I mean, it's okay, it's one factor, but what does the price matter if you can't get the project done, or if it's not met to your expectations, or if the vendor doesn't care? Like,
That's right.
it's a wild west. There are people that have little to no experience in the market today offering their services, and a prospective client must take this into account and understand what is the process, who are the people that are doing it, and do I have a chance of an outcome? What does the price matter if you can't get it done the way you need to? And if it's going to cost you thousands, tens of thousands in potential lost business and headaches and suffering over the years.
Interestingly, that this space has yet to get any sort of actual credentialing.
Should we start it? Can we start it?
Certain vendors are eligible to be Shopify partners, which we are one. But to be a web designer in general, you don't need anything to be, all you need is a laptop. And you get people that have, you mentioned experience. You have some very, very talented people that are good developers that have been doing it for a couple of years.
Yeah.
You have other people that have been doing it for 20 years and
they're
horrible.
no good. They're no good.
They're doing
Some
the same
people are
thing.
inherently talented.
Correct.
Yeah.
And because there's not like a set standard, I think it can make it very difficult for people to understand and evaluate apples to apples comparisons. Some people will just start building in WordPress, which obviously we have our own opinion about that. But
if you were going to build a house, would you pour concrete? Would you put the framing in? Would you do the electrical without having a plan? That is insane.
But for a lot of people, if you don't have the team or the resources to be able to do it properly, that is your only option, is to go straight to development. You're not paying for the Figma and for the designers to actually design and build the process. You're not paying for the project manager to help facilitate everything. Your only option is to go straight to WordPress.
Look, begs the question of why do it at all if you're not going to do it right? Number one. Number two, cursive knowledge. We know how to do it right. I can't unlearn how to do it now, nor am I going to start reducing the quality of the work in which we're doing. And
I'm not saying from our standpoint.
No, I know that. But
I think that's why people have such a hard time evaluating vendors, and you'll get one proposal for, $750 and you get something else for $7,500.
Or $15,000 or $25,000 or $30,000. I said that exact line today. I said, listen, you've got an informational 10-page site. You need it to be beautiful. You need it to function. You need to be a great representation of who you are. The current site is riddled with obvious stock photos and poor design in general. It's a wonderful project for us. We'll do 180 degree on this. And I said, look, call enough vendors. Someone is going to say $1,500. Totally ridiculous. Someone's going to tell you $15,000, $20,000. Also ridiculous in this case, based on the amount of work. For the other reason, the opposite reason. Again, look, let me just talk to process 30 seconds. Besides onboarding and all that, let's just assume that that's a given. The actual time to design a site, how long should it take? 20 hours, 25 hours of a competent professional's time. The homepage, the brand, a day. Your comments, a few more hours. The interior page is another day. Your comments, the export of the assets in a professional manner. Let's just call it what it is, right? 25, 30 hours of time, right? Multiply that by a reasonable hourly rate for a professional that's done thousands of projects, right? Whatever that number is in your mind. It's not $50. It's not $20 an hour. It's a significant number. Then people should understand one needs to then develop those, right? It's not just going to snap your fingers and all of a sudden it's going to be built in WordPress. I wish that was the case. We would be doing more projects at half the cost if that was the case.
I think the challenge is people don't, let's say someone has never built a website before, or maybe they built one 7 years ago.
Yeah.
If you didn't have Figma, you were either dealing with Photoshop or straight to WordPress. You didn't have this incredible tool at the disposal of the industry standard.
Yeah, well, Illustrator, XD, Photoshop, whatever was the tool. Yes, it's much better now.
The important thing to realize, though, is if you take a look at a website that was built 10 years ago versus a website that's built today, they're not the same thing. And I think that's one of the challenging parts is understanding apples to apples comparisons.
Agreed. But look, coming back again, we talked about the design piece. There's the entire development of the site, a 10-page site, 40 hours, 50 hours. Ask any competent developer. Don't take my word for it. It takes time to do it right, right? This is not a snap your fingers, AI, and everything
Magic.
is built. It's magic. It's magic. And it's going to work on every device and be perfect, right? It's going to be everything done correctly according to, let's say, best practices, right? It's unrealistic. So I've just given 65, 70 hours of work that needs to be done. Does $1,500 make sense for 70 hours of work? It's absurd.
Of course not.
It's absurd. That's what I'm saying. So anyone looking for that, the reality is roll the sleeves up, pour a glass of wine, get a family member to come with you, and go to one of the drag and drop builders. There isn't a professional solution for you. And anybody that is offering you a custom website or any kind of design work at those numbers, I said the same line all the time. There's a very high degree of a negative outcome for you. You want to risk it? You want to go spend money and waste money and have to chase it and charge back and all that stuff? Bless you. But and look, maybe you get lucky. Maybe there's a freelancer, like you said, with a couple of years' experience that does a really nice job for you. Maybe it's possible.
But what are they doing? Taking a template, changing a couple colors?
Of course they are. Of course they are. And if I'm a real business with real business needs and real business outcomes, and I'm spending money in order to direct traffic to the site, I can't mess around with a maybe. I can't mess around with somebody that doesn't have a divine process and doesn't have the right people in place. This isn't a kindergarten thing of one person going and having a go and like, hopefully we get it right.
So back to the original topic of the Wild West of unregulated designers.
Yeah.
If I come to you, if someone's interested in getting a website, what do they need to know to separate someone who's qualified to be a web designer and to build their website versus someone who's not?
Go look at the portfolio. If you don't love the work, you're in the wrong place, right? Because the vendor's website and their portfolio is going to be a very good indication of what you can expect yourself.
I think we can all agree if they don't have a portfolio, that's an indicator.
Just run in the other direction. Like, that's insane, right? Totally insane. It's like saying I'm going to a car builder, I've never seen them build a car, or I'm going to a home builder, never seen a custom home that they built.
Tell me two more.
Process, right? The process.
Because you'd have a process because you've done it multiple times and you know what works and you know what doesn't work.
Look, if one is to operate at any degree of scale and not have total chaos in their life professionally, there has to be a process that they follow. And our process is one, as you well know, that is continuously improved. We have a process. We always iterate when it makes sense, right? We say, oh, we should probably add this step or we should move this in a certain order so that we get it done correctly. There's no way to operate at any degree of scale without a process set in place. If I'm seeking a vendor for our services, I'm making sure that their work is exceptional. I'm making sure that they have a defined process, and I'm making sure that they're attentive to me, especially during the courting phase, right? Because if they're not attentive to me during the courting phase, I can only imagine how they're going to treat me after they've already received money from me, right? I often say, very easy to start a project, not easy at all to finish projects, right? There's a big difference. Anyone can say, no problem, I'll do everything under the sun. But at the end of the day, I think what makes Sage unique is that we're actively seeking, like, yes, we're looking for great clients, but we're also telling people when we're not a great fit because we're not looking for headaches. We're looking to do world-class work. I want to be proud of what I'm doing. We're at a point in our professional careers where we cannot afford anything else, right? It's like, come to us when you have a real business need. We will ensure that we do absolute best-in-class work, and we'll put every effort in order to do that. And have the faith in us, give us the creative license to do what we believe is right to see the project through. I think those are the best engagements.
Okay, so we got portfolio, we got process. What's
Yeah.
the last thing?
It's the communication with the vendor. I really think so, right? Do you have faith that the vendor has the ability to see it through? Maybe that's references. That should be sufficient already looking at the portfolio, right? That vendor did that work. If you love it, great. You can expect that for themselves. But I think it's the interpersonal relationship. It's how does that person make you feel? Do you have a confidence in them being able to finish it, right? And do you feel safe in the decision that that's the right person? I think that's it. Personality, process, and relevant experience.
You get through those three, I think you can
Yeah.
at least say this person is a qualified vendor. How does it feel? Because you have to have, there's certainly that that gut feeling
Yeah.
to understand that that person, even if they have those values and those traits, that they align with your vision and you have faith that they would understand your business model.
Yes, it's also the team, right? It's the team.
Of course.
You have to have the right team. This isn't the Alex show, right? I cannot do world-class work by myself. Can't happen. I have a wonderful team, everyone wearing the right hats. We're all doing the things that we should be doing for the most part, right? And I think that's another critical point is, do you have the team to back up the time and process? We once did a piece of content called Creative Chaos, and we talked about how it's very easy to make promises, right? Comes back to that point about you can start as many projects as you want, finishing is another story. It's an issue in the generally in the design phase, design sphere, in order to say, hey, I can do this for you in this amount of time at this price and everything else, but it's actually really difficult to meet those, right? So that's very important to us as an organization as well.
All right, let's talk about cheap site traps, rented sites, templates that collapse, and oversee builds.
Okay, so let's start with those three.
Rented sites,
Rented sites, let's start with that.
big problem.
A huge problem. I just talked to a guy the other day about this. He's like, I'm paying $4.99 a month for my current site.
$499.
$499 a month. There was no upfront cost. It's just $4.99. Doesn't sound like that much. Well, hold on a second. $4.99 a month is $6,000 a year. Am I correct?
That's right.
After 3 years, that's how much? $18,000, right? That you're continuing to pay for some mediocre nonsense. Doesn't rank for anything, doesn't particularly convey trust, authority, etc. in anything to me. It just looks like some cheap garbage that was output by some vendor. And on top of all of that, another slap in the face is you stop paying the $4.99 a month, you don't have anything to show for it.
To me, that's the bigger issue.
It's insane. I mean, who would agree to such a thing? Again, if I'm saying to somebody, come to me, my general pricing for a 10-page informational site, $5,000 at this time, and I want to have the most minimal engagement with you possible to be your managed host into the future, starting at $99 a month, that's $1,200 a year. Doesn't that sound better than the $6,000 that you paid for the garbage that was thrown together in, I don't know, a day, half a day, I have no idea how long, versus going through the process that you know that we follow and the right team and the right people in the right place? And if you fire us for whatever reason, you have a business asset that you can take and move anywhere you wish to move to, and we'll help you do so.
The number of times I've seen people who want to have someone else manage their ads, have someone else take over their hosting, make some updates, and then they have to go back to the vendor that built the site and they won't release it, or they want to charge X amount for that, their site's being held hostage.
Yes.
And that's a big problem.
Huge problem. I've heard every story under the sun, thousands of sales calls in my career. Again, I've heard every variation of a theme.
They don't have access to the back end of the site.
They don't have access, or they don't have admin access, right? They can only make basic edits in editor, et cetera. And again, don't be lured in by the relatively low monthly fee and not the big upfront or relatively larger upfront.
The rent a website.
Correct. Don't be lured in by that. We took over a site of a mortgage broker recently that was doing some similar scenario. No upfront cost, or $1,000 upfront and then a higher monthly fee, but you get nothing for the monthly. The monthly should be the lowest possible, that you have a professional overseeing the health and, let's say, longevity of the websites. All the stuff, the core, the theme, the plugins, the PHP, just general proper attention, backup, security, malware scanning, all the things that everybody says that they do. But guess what? We actually really do it. And for the fee that we're charging, if you really take into consideration what you yourself as a client would have to pay to any of the big box retailers, $20, $30, $40, $50 a month. When you take into consideration the hosting itself, the cost of licenses, all the other stuff, we're talking about a nothing difference. 40, 50 bucks a month you pay extra to us, and you have 100 years of collective experience, I don't mean to exaggerate, in professional website management. It's a no-brainer for a company operating at some degree of scale and frankly doesn't have time for BS.
I think there's also an important differentiator is that you have to have hosting no matter what.
Correct.
No matter whether
There is no free. There's no free.
you have
That
to
doesn't
pay for,
exist.
somehow someone is getting paid for hosting. It's what happens with the hosting afterwards.
Yep.
But the rent a website, that's a whole separate business model that's significantly more expensive to the customer.
Trash, garbage,
end.
and you know, I would love
And they
to.
get nothing out of it.
They get nothing out of it, and I would love to have a conversation with an owner of a business that has that model. I would love to be sold as to why that is a good solution.
My guess it's the lower cost going into it.
Oh, I mean, that's the.
I mean, that has to. I mean,
I can't see any other. But again,
why
like,
would you want to rent your own website?
I don't get it. I don't get the whole thing. Makes no sense to me.
I mean,
and on top of that, by the way, this mortgage place, they were producing content that was just duplicated across a bunch of their other websites. Of course, they rank for nothing, probably harmful, again, because you're duplicating the same garbage across all these sites. That model is totally idiotic. What was the second point that you said?
Templates that collapse.
Okay, let me talk about templates. So there's a platform, repository online, Figma-first, huge marketplace, right? Every fledgling designer knows Figma-first. When I got into this business, 2012, I knew nothing about what I was doing. Wanted to be a web designer, had an interest in the subject. So-and-so had a business that they wanted a website for. Oh, let me go to Figma-first. Let me type in whatever relevant to, something tangentially related to their business. Find a template that looks the best you think that it looks. Make sure it has the builder that you have some experience with. Pay the $75 or less for it. Put it in a staging environment. Change the text. Change the images. Essentially, the most I could do was edit the theme options that came with that particular template, right? You with me?
Yeah.
Okay. So that sounds terrible, right? Who wants that? Who wants to pay fees to somebody that isn't going through a refining process in Figma, custom design, coding it by hand, following best practices?
Otherwise, you're just getting a Me Too website. I have this website. Oh, me too. It looks like every other website on the planet.
Look, there's
how many lawyers do we see that come in with websites and their existing website looks identical to every other website?
I mean, those are the models of many places. There's those niche design firms that say we do designs for lawyers, and I think generally that they're following that. I'm not saying all do, but I think that people can get lost in the template route, again, thinking that somehow a savings in the beginning is going to be a savings forever, where in fact a savings in the beginning is a very costly headache most of the time into the future. The builder sucks, you have limited ability to edit, you'll need to bring a developer in to make changes anyway that you're incapable of doing.
I don't think it's saving very much time or money. Certainly on the short term.
Look, we don't
long term for sure not.
Look, we don't do it at all, period, for a reason, because it's not good. It's not scalable and it's not good. If it was some wonderful thing, a tool that I could actually do some benefit for my clients, I would be doing it myself, right?
Sure.
We do what we do because we believe in it, right? Like, I'm not doing this for any other reason because I believe our process is the best way to a successful outcome in the shortest amount of time with professionals, right? In the beginning, I think I've said this before, I was looking for the cheap because I couldn't afford anything else, right? Couldn't afford it. Needed the most inexpensive help that I could find, and my hiring was based on hourly rate, right? And now it's the opposite. I cannot afford to do things 2, 3, 4, 5 times. And what generally happens is you hire professionals, and the better they are, the faster they do it anyway. Hourly rate doesn't matter, and I don't have the headache. So the template option, in my view, good for fledgling startup designer that doesn't have more of a skill set. I would argue what's the word? When you got an internship with a professional design firm that you can learn the process properly and refine your skills is probably much more valuable. I know many people would probably disagree with me, but I think that's my opinion.
Look, these points are great on why not to go with a template, which I 100% agree with you. What about the fact that the templates collapse? As in, you get a template, the developer of the template is no longer in the picture.
Yeah.
It's not maintained.
Yeah, you can't get support, you can't get updates, it's a disaster.
And when there is a core update and that theme is not compatible,
Yeah.
where do you go?
I've seen that a few times in my career.
You're literally going to have to rebuild your entire website essentially overnight because you can't move it anywhere.
It doesn't sound good to me.
Sounds horrible.
It sounds horrible.
Oversee builds.
Okay, so we have a global team and something we're very proud of. We have a diverse group of individuals working for us and each one wearing the right hat, okay? I've often said in my career, first of all, I don't want to be limited to the bounds of greater Las Vegas area to find talent. Not interested, right? I'm sure there's wonderful people here, but why be limited? Our system admin, incredible 35-year veteran, happens to be in Europe. It doesn't matter to me where the individual resides. It matters their work ethic. It matters their professionalism. It matters how badass they are at what they do. Okay, that's the qualifications. That's the qualifications for working here. But oftentimes, I've heard this, even recently, like, oh, do you, outsource any of your work? I said, well, what does that mean exactly, outsource your work? No, we have teammates long-term here that have been with us for years. This is not some churn operation that's finding some random individual in order to do projects. No.
Well, let me just pause you. I think people confuse outsource and overseas.
I agree.
The intention, we understand what that is. There's one thing to farm it out where you don't actually have a developer and you just hire someone.
Correct.
And you say, hey, you take care of this. I just sold this, and that's your business model. Versus having an overseas team.
I think it's a matter of, for whatever reason, there's a idea in the collective minds of prospective buyers that overseas equates to cheap. And cheap is not good. Now, I mean cheap, not just from a money perspective.
I mean, just look at the economy. For years, people have been buying products from China for one reason.
Because it's cheap.
Because it's cheap.
What I mean, though, is from a negative perspective, if someone is not right here in your office, then somehow that's bad, which is total nonsense, right? We've been working in harmony for many, many years with wonderful teammates all around the world. I don't care where they're from. I told you that. It's attitude, work ethic, them being a badass. That's my prerequisite. But they have to be wearing the right hats, okay? Going to a competent developer and telling that badass developer that he or she should somehow be a designer and understand that particular role, stupid, right? It doesn't make any sense. And me going to my designer and asking for development stuff, or me going to my project manager and attempting him to do development, like, we have to wear the right hats here. And that's, I think, the critical role of any good operation, is making sure the right people are doing the right things. And that's the point. So
say you go to one of these marketplaces online.
Sure.
You can hire someone. The entire company's overseas.
Okay.
To me, that is a problem. Not if some of the teammates are overseas.
Look, I don't care where they are. Like, what if they're badasses and they can do great work and everything else, and they do it efficiently? If they're wonderful at their craft, by all means. I mean, I don't have anything wrong with that, personally. I'm not against it. What I am against is like the faking nonsense, the not really having a team, not having a massive payroll associated with the work that you do. Randomly, you have 2 projects here and there, and you're finding some vendor from who knows where in order to do that particular role. I have a big problem with that, right? That's not good for the client, and that's not a good business practice, right? That, I think, is an issue. I think you should look at the people's work. I think you should talk to them as human beings and see that you like them and have faith in their ability to finish it, and that they have a great process, and everything else I don't think matters.
So let's transition from customers doing their choosing to customers protecting their investment.
Okay.
The biggest thing that I see that is probably the biggest red flag is when a customer doesn't own their domain.
It's insane.
And you have to own your data.
Yeah.
You have to. I think it's irresponsible not to. You get put in the position you could get your data held essentially at ransom. Your domain can get hijacked and stolen from you.
I did a piece of content on this subject,
and
specifically,
it is very, very difficult. I've been a part of a few recoveries of domains. They are very, very difficult to get recovered. It can take a lot of time and money to try to get it back. You're dealing with laws in other countries, and it's a nightmare of a process. Mm-hmm. You imagine spending years building up your brand and your website, and then all of a sudden one night it's pointed somewhere else.
Yeah.
And you can't change it.
Do you remember the story about the GoDaddy and the ransom and the 50,000? And do you remember that story?
I don't, but
Long and the short of exactly what you're saying, a real brand on Shopify doing real numbers, not paying attention to the fundamentals. Someone gained access to their GoDaddy account because 2FA wasn't enabled.
it happens all the time.
Transfer the domain name out. They're not paying attention to the email notifications, or maybe they changed the email address before they did it. I'm not laughing because it's funny. It's horrifying. And it's gone. Never got it back. You know what they did? They changed their domain name.
Yeah, what do you do about your email addresses? What do you do about all of it?
It's all bad.
It's all bad.
The answer is get your foundation right. I did a piece of content specifically about this in the past. It's pay attention to the details and make sure, you would not believe how often I ask basic questions. Where's the site hosted?
No clue.
No idea.
Who owns your domain?
I don't know. Where is it bought even? No clue.
How do you get to the back end of your website?
Do me a favor, get a piece of paper out and just write down 4 or 5 points and go ask whomever your vendor is for the details. Where's the domain name? Am I the owner or are you the owner? Is my email Outlook, cPanel, Gmail? Where is my email and what am I paying for that? Basic stuff. How do I access the back end of the site? Is it in my account? Is it in your account? These are all critical questions that you should be able to know. And look, when I start a conversation with a client during our design process, we're inevitably going to relaunch in our own work on their site at some point in the near future. So I'm asking these questions and they don't know. I say, listen to me. Good that we're doing this not under duress. I know that it's a bit stressful now because you don't have the answers, but better that we do it now, not under a critical situation. The alternative being your website is down and you have no idea where any of this is, and then it's a real problem.
Now, for people that don't know where it's hosted or who has it, we have tools that can help find it.
Yeah.
If someone is speaking to potential vendors and they say that they own the domain or they have to own the domain,
leave. That's nonsense. Yeah. Just don't even consider such a thing. Stupid.
And this ties back to the same renting a website where it's not actually yours. Someone else controls it. Someone else owns it. And it's just a big liability to the business.
Yeah. By the way, I often, I think I may have coined this term. I'm not sure, but I refer to it as digital trauma. I'm pretty sure I coined this. And probably not the only person that ever said that before. But look, I'll talk to people all the time that have been burned in some way, shape, or form by 1, 2, 3 bad experiences in the past. And I say, look, I understand you have digital trauma, okay? But I'm going to tell you all the stuff that I'm doing and the why. And I'm going to make it that if there is a time where you and I are not going to be together anymore, we're going to make it an easy transition from me to whomever the other vendor is.
My guess that's why the other vendors want to own the domain of said client.
I don't know. That just seems like what a terrible way to start a relationship and just poor. Anyone that, again, if anyone disagreed with me, I would love to have a conversation and understand the logic as to why. There's very low likelihood that I could be convinced that that's a good idea. And on that point, we manage hundreds of sites across the country, internationally. They're in our ecosystem, right? They're managed by us, right? That's an important point. But I'm a vendor, okay? I'm not the owner of your stuff. And should you want to leave, we will do everything in our power to help you make a successful transition. That's my
But they
view.
all have access to the website.
Of course they do.
They own their own data. They have access to their data.
You can be an admin. You can do anything that you want. I call it the done with you solution. You have access. We have access. Most of the time, our clients say, we don't want to deal with this. That's why we're paying a professional company. We're happy to pay some fees in order to get things done when we need it done. So,
final item, avoiding hidden costs. The $1,200 site that ends up costing $20,000.
look,
More importantly, in the lost leads.
yeah, I mean, let me speak to when you have a beautiful landing page dialed in and you're sending paid traffic and you have at least 50% of the conversions on that page, booking calls and doing exactly what you want them to do, that's very valuable to me. And I wouldn't be looking to save money. Look, we're in an interesting position. Obviously, we can do whatever we want on our own site and we have the resources to execute it fast. But again, if you are in the market for a website and you don't have a operating business at this particular moment, this is a startup that's unfunded, and you're looking for the cheapest solution to getting something up, we are not the right choice. There are other better choices for your particular situation.
And why is that?
The cost associated with what we do will potentially not make sense if you don't have the revenues in order to, look, if you're spending hundreds of dollars a day on these platforms, my fee will be paid in a matter of days. It doesn't matter, right? It makes no sense. If you have a product with serious margin and you're selling and you have a real business, then it makes obvious sense that you should hire professionals at the top, not towards the bottom of what they're doing. And if you just need a business card or something, or you think you need a site that doesn't have a business need for you, it's just a desire of yours, there are platforms out there that you can go to. And again, I use that analogy. Roll the sleeves up, have a glass of wine, get a family member to help you if you need it. It will look very attractive. It'll be, little business card site that can put your details on and have no, do you care about who's coming to the site? Do you care about what the conversion rates are? Do you have any tracking? Are you spending any money on paid media? If none of that stuff matters, then again, we're just not the vendor. Why do it at all? Why have the website? But again, if you have a real business and if you have a need for that website to actually produce something, to be verifiable and trackable, not just us feel like it looks pretty, then I think that we can really provide a tremendous amount of value. So Mike, what do you have to say about that? Like, again, if you have an operating business and you need a result and you intend to spend money for marketing efforts in order to drive traffic to the website and you demand and expect results from that, you doing it yourself and putting it on some kind of random builder, no matter how great they tout it is, you know how it's always the same. It's so easy. The marketing of them is, you click a few buttons and AI and it's unbelievable and it's all easy and you do it in 1 hour.
Something will come up. You'll be able to get a website.
Sure.
And if you're looking for a business card, if you're looking to sell, cookies part-time on your website, it could function.
Yep.
But there's some very important differences that separate it. It's just not the same. First of all, you'll see after spending 3 hours, 6 hours, wasting a weekend or two, that it's just not coming together.
Correct.
Or if there's a problem, you'll go and fix one thing, and then next thing you know, the mobile site's not loading correctly and it causes another problem. And it ends in that endless loop until you just get tired of it and you go the other path anyways. A custom website has a different look and feel that you're not going to be able to get out of a template. And it's the subtle differences that for someone who's not necessarily experienced with websites might not be able to pick up specifically, but you know what a good website looks like when you see it, how things fade in, how they transition. You just don't get that with these pre-done, automatically generated
Agreed.
websites. You don't get the ability to customize the experience for what you would be expecting your customers to have.
Even if you do, let's just say all of that is happening already, okay? Even if you do get all of those things.
But to be clear, you can't get that out of the box today.
Look, let's pretend we can. Okay? It doesn't matter. Let's just say that it is. One must apply an hourly rate to professional services of any individual that has thousands of hours of experience. There is no such thing, in my view, as a $1,000 website or $1,500 website or $2,000 website. It just doesn't. The numbers don't make sense. If it takes 50 hours to do a project, just do the math. It doesn't make sense. If you hire a plumber to come and fix your toilet at your house, it's going to cost you $150, $200 an hour. I mean that with all due respect. The trades are amazing. But that person spent who knows how many years doing specific things in order to come and solve your emergency problem. I would pay any money to an AC tech, and I have in my life, to come and fix a problem in the summertime with my 2 beautiful children at home, my wife, of course. I'm going to pay them because they deserve it. They're coming right now, they're doing it, they're tactical, they're fixing, I'll pay any money, right? I'm not saying what we do is an emergency, it isn't. But one must apply an hourly rate. One must multiply the time that it takes by a rate. And you get not just that, but you get the value of collective tremendous experience and the history behind what that individual has done, hopefully, right? If you hire the right people, that you have the best success of a positive outcome. That's my view. And there just isn't, in my view, a 5-hour, 10-hour, 15-hour solution. It just doesn't make sense. That's my opinion. Not to say in 5 years from now that you won't snap your fingers and there'll be incredible tools. And if there are, and if it makes sense, then we will fit those into our process and we will ensure that we are on the cutting edge of all things that are happening. I really believe that. But in my view, I said this kind of earlier, it's we do what we do because we believe in it, and we've built this process and we'll continue to iterate it as things improve, which they are, right? Which they are. But that's the reality of the situation now, I think.
I think there's also something to be said about if you were to try to build a website yourself, how much time would it take?
No idea. A lot of time.
Especially if you don't know how to code.
Of course not.
Even with the tools online. The tools are exactly that. They're tools to help you get there. You still need to apply the time to get it finished.
Look, thinking that you can be a web designer is the same as thinking you could be a plumber, thinking you could be an electrician, thinking you could be any other professional trade, thinking you could do your own, be your CPA, thinking you be a doctor, you know? Just because you went to ChatGPT and you asked about your particular condition, you know what I mean? That would be like me going to my, you know who I'm talking about, my buddy, and telling him how he should perform an operation. It doesn't make sense. You don't have the experience. You don't know what you don't know. And thinking that it's easy just because some commercial had some character running around on the screen talking about how easy it was to do their site for some fake business doesn't mean anything, right? It just doesn't mean anything.
Right.
And I think that when one expects a result, they should seek vendors that have defined processes, the right team, and an attitude of perfection in order to see them through.
I love it.
I hope that our clients will too.
I think it's very important that they at least understand. Like you said, you don't know what you don't know. And where do you begin when
you don't? Don't do it. Go off, go run your business. I'm nearing 40. I'm not looking for new opportunities. I don't care. I don't care what anyone would say to me now in my career. If someone said to me right now, Alex, I got this perfect job for you. You're going to love it. And I say, listen to me. I'm very fulfilled professionally. And I have literally, I don't, so much time invested in what we're doing. I'm not looking for new opportunities now. I'm looking to be more tactical and more amazing at the things that I am doing. And anyone, I just keep saying this, anyone with a real business that cares about the outcome, that demands perfection, what are we talking about here? Hire the professionals. Look,
if you have a startup with no money, you probably should build your own website if you have the time. I guess.
Or get some funding. I don't know. If you have a legitimate thing, get some funding. Yes, but do it yourself. Do it yourself. Don't look for, because look, I'm going to say it again. I would be very cautious. Anyone offering a $1,500 or $2,000 something kind of solution website.
Even to do it yourself. If there's no business and there's no traffic, having a website that's beautiful for what?
I agree. That's not our client.
We'll build the best. You have the best practices. You have it out optimized. You have it able to rank. But you still have to have a decent product. You still have to have a decent service.
Of course. I always say, let us manage the site and you manage the business. Please do not attempt to do it on your own. It's a mistake. Again, just go on your path. Let us support you. Let us act as your outsourced, let's say, team.
You know, I think that's a challenge when people call up and they're just so tired and drained because they've spent so many hours, so much time to get to a point that they've realized that they need the professional help. Obviously, they're usually embarrassed of what was produced, and it's nowhere close to what they want.
Of course not. It can't be. Again, could I go perform a surgery now if I wanted to? If I watched a couple videos?
Probably not successfully.
Probably not successfully. Or could I do some plumbing task? Or could I do some other professionals? No. You know, I said this to someone just a couple of hours ago. I said, look, could you manage the site yourself? Yeah, but you have no business doing that. It doesn't make any sense.
Right.
You know, don't look at the small money like that. You know, if our service starts at $99 monthly for managed services, right? It's not free or $100. It's $30, $40 or $100 if you try to do it yourself. Cost of the hosting, cost of the SSL, cost of the plugins, let alone cost of your time. You have no idea what you're doing. What are we talking about here? Focus on the business, look for professionals. I made the comment about our own people. I used to look for the cheap. That doesn't happen anymore. If you have a real business, look for professionals. I'm not saying you should overspend. I'm not saying that. But look for value. Look for value. Look for value. Look for people.
And alignment.
And alignment, yeah. Thank you for your time.
Always.